Okay, just a reminder to everybody before we get going that your mobile devices should be turned off or silenced. So I'd like to welcome everyone to a very special council on Monday, December 16th. We're going to have singing for our regular meeting of council, and we're calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. We're going to skip our municipal safety share to get the young singers out and to please Mr. Cresswell. So we'll ask if there are any additions or deletions to the agenda. Hearing none, I have a motion that council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, December 16, 2019, regular meeting of council as circulated amended, moved by Councillor Valance, seconded by Councillor Gingras. All in favor? We are carried. We've been given the pause by, well, maybe we'll pass our second motion as well. That's not super important. Following that, are there any disclosures of interest pursuant to the agenda? Hearing none, I have a motion to read. That council hereby adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Monday, November 25th, 2019, and the closed meetings of council held on Monday, November 25th, 2019, and Monday, December 9th, 2019, as circulated or amended. Moved by Councillor Valance, seconded by, your name's too long, Councillor Tabushi, so it's seconded by Councillor Gingras. All in favor? Are you opposed, Councillor Tabushi? Okay, then we're carried. Any questions regarding the minutes? Okay, I should have done that first. Are we still waiting? Why don't we do the safety share? I think that's that is, the gods are speaking to us, Mr. Cresswell. I think, Councillor Hatton, would you like to do the safety share?
So the 12 days of holiday safety. On the first day, prepare your home for the holidays. On the second day, make a plan. On the third day, think about special needs. On the fourth day, decorate with safety in mind. On the fifth day, make your tree safe. On the sixth day, keep your lights bright. On the seventh day, choose appropriate toys. On the eighth day, get ready for severe winter weather. On the 9th day, prepare your car for an emergency. On the 10th day, prevent illness. On the 11th day, learn first aid. And on the 12th day, know the risks.
Thank you, Councillor Hatton. We're just going to double check that we're good. So we'll invite in the students from the Margaret Toomey Choir and introduce them, then we'll get going. Councillor Gingras. Well, welcome everybody. This is about usual for our council meetings, about this many people, so it's good to see everybody here. It's our annual visit from the Margaret Toomey Choir. So Miss Kavner, we'll do four songs, and then maybe we'll get a picture with the council, and then
speech over.
We did get you a candy cane and a swing pass that the elves from council will pass out. But maybe we could give a big round of applause. That's pretty darn awesome.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to come up to get a real close-up, this is probably a good time to get a nice photo of your gang.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be able to look at you.
Thanks for good singing.
Okay.
Everyone's got one? Is anyone missing?
Okay, you guys are doing awesome.
Merry Christmas.
Being a bad matching clothes to school with Angelique.
Oh, yeah.
And you have matching Angelique.
Merry Christmas, guys.
You're already on TV. You're on YouTube. You can watch yourself.
Well, it's sort of all downhill from there. I must say I have not heard the I had a cold in my nose for Christmas. So that's a new one for me. From the very young children of Margaret Toomey to the slightly older children of Marathon High School, student councillor Hatton, do you have a report?
Well, there's not much going on at Marathon High School. Student Council has been hosting the 10 Days of Christmas. For the last week and all this week, we've had PJ Day, Ugly Christmas Sweater Day, Plaid Day, door decorating. So there's a whole bunch of activities going on at Marathon High School, just getting us in the Christmas spirit. And also our sports teams will be traveling to Terrace Bay tomorrow for our school sports day. So good luck to all of them in Terrace Bay.
Thank you, Councillor Hatton. Our next report is a CAO report on Corporate Strategic Plan 2019 progress, copy to all members.
So the Town of Marathon Strategic Plan was endorsed by Council in May 2019. This plan identifies the Town of Marathon's goal over that time frame, which is the 4 years of Council, with a focus on 5 key areas: quality of life, infrastructure and environment, economic development, organizational and fiscal resiliency, and progressive leadership and collaboration. A component of the plan is to complete regular performance reviews and present them to Council. Performance review and measurement ensures that the plan and the strategies contained within it are reviewed and adjusted accordingly for success. So for 2019, some of the key accomplishments from the plan include the application to the Ontario Energy Board for the North Shore Liquefied Natural Gas Project, submission of a funding application to the Invest in Canada Infrastructure Program for the construction of a new active living centre, submission of a funding application to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund for broadband technology development and deployment, completion of the waterfront development project in the boat launch area, continued development of Veterans Square, continued development of Penn Lake Trail, development of a Pebble Beach landscape architecture plan, modernization of the Community Emergency Management Plan, continued support for healthcare professionals recruitment, which is a partnership with the North Superior Healthcare Group, the Marathon Family Health Team, and Barrick Gold. Support of the Marathon Beautification Group for community beautification. Utilization of the municipal accommodation tax to support trail system development. Acquisition of the former Marathon Mill site. Completion of Hemlow Drive resurfacing. And a comprehensive municipal policy review and updating of those policies. Projects identified in the plan have been or will be included in yearly municipal budgets as identified, and your administration presents this report for council's information.
Thank you, Mr. Skorczynski. Are there any questions of that report? Hearing none, I feel like I need to make a comment then. It's a remarkable list from administration, certainly as we you start seeing all the sports wrap-up shows and best of 2019 programs around this time of year. It's quite a list of accomplishments for a small municipality, and certainly on behalf of Mayor and Council, it's pretty amazing what a small administrative team has put together for 2019. So congratulations for hitting those targets in particular.
Thank you.
Following that, we have a report from Mr. Verbo on 2020 fees and charges.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Prior to the start of each fiscal year, rates for municipally provided goods and services are presented for Council's approval. In determining the fees and charges for 2020, following implications are considered: legislated rate, Council's cost recovery objectives, operating costs increases, and comparisons to similar services offered elsewhere. Generally, a 2% increase was applied to many of the fees in recognition of recent labor negotiations. The machine component of equipment rental was increased by 4%. Here's a summary of the proposals. No changes to building and planning until a new chief building official is hired. No correspondence was received from the local taxi company, so rates have remained the same. No increases to business licenses, but administration and penalties have been increased by 2%. Bag tags will remain at $2 each, and the minimum for trips to the waste transfer station will still remain at 6 tags. Tipping will increase by $2 per metric ton to $82 effective April 1st. No changes to water and sewer, no changes to the arena or swimming rates, but a change to the age categories. The student rate will only be for users under the age of 18. Seniors will be from 60 to 74 years old. This is a change to the super senior category, which started at 70. Fitness classes, which includes yoga jog, float, yoga, and boot camp, will be decoupled from the pool membership. Memberships for fitness will be higher than the pool memberships, but there is an opportunity to purchase a combined annual membership, which is approximately $50 more than just a swimming membership. Besides the general increase of 2% to all golf fees, the tournament fee will be increased to $15 per person, irregardless of the number of players there are, holes played, or the number of days. Club members will have to pay also. The daily rate for electrical campsites at the Penn Lake Park will increase from $45 to $45.50. User fees generate approximately $2.5 million in revenue annually, so the options available to Council are to accept the 2020 fees and charges as presented with bylaws 1964, or accept the fees with amendments. Administration presents this proposal for your consideration and approval.
Thank you, Mr. Verbo. I do have a motion that Council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on 2020 fees and service charges. Further, that the appropriate bylaw be adopted approving the 2020 fees and service charges for the town of Marathon. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, seconded by Councillor Gingras. Are there any questions of that report? Councillor Valance.
Yeah, so just for clarification, when we talk about the pool rate and the float fit class memberships type programming that's offered, are they expected to pay a membership for those classes and then on top of that, the rate to go swimming in order to participate with those programs?
No, there will be, if you do both, then you can buy a combination membership.
That's
If
$50.
you just wanting to do aqua jog or boot camp, there's opportunity to do membership there. Or you can buy the pass. If you want to just go swimming, there's the opportunity to buy the membership or buy the passes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Just a follow-up comment to Councillor Valance. What we really tried to do with the pool is to create more options and more abilities to utilize the different functions we have available at the pool and make that much clearer in terms of how you pay for them and how you access them. So it's just an opportunity for people that maybe don't utilize the pool for swimming as an example, but utilize it for a fitness class where they can just utilize it for a fitness class. So you have options to purchase either, you know, those standalone or utilize the pool membership as well.
follow-up question, Councillor Valance.
Thank you, and you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Is there any way or any measures in place in order to track it to see if it's successful and stuff moving forward? Because it does make a lot of sense to kind of segregate the fitness component versus the public usage for public swim, right?
Currently, there's no way because you buy the pass, and whether you're going swimming or you're going to the fitness class, we don't track it. Now there will be because there'll be two different types of selling.
Which, yeah, I totally support. Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions to that report? Councillor Tabushi.
You've made note there in the golf course fees, and speaking on behalf, I guess, or in opposition, the men's and women's clubs, from my understanding or from looking at this thing, will now be subject to have a $15 fee for any of their tournaments. Is that how you are expressing it?
That's correct. So this part of fees and charges has always been an actual fee in the schedule. We've been inconsistent in how we've charged it in the past. So in the past, generally, if it was considered an outside tournament per se, so let's say somebody, you know, exclusive of a club we have, they paid the fee to utilize the course. We traditionally, inconsistently haven't charged the clubs for it. But what we're proposing as administration is to charge that fee on a consistent basis, and of course communicate that properly with the clubs, because administration's thinking behind it is that you're utilizing the course for a tournament, which means the course is now not available for public play.
Follow-up question, Councillor Tabushi.
Yeah, and we went through this thing in my first year as when I was on the Parks and Rec when we had that commission. And our understanding was that fee was going to be used for people who came from outside the community, not community members. And I'll use an example. If ABC company wanted to hold a tournament at the Peninsula, that was the fee that they would be subject to per person. And if a member of the club played in that, then they would not be, they would pay the appropriate amount, or the company on their behalf would supplement that amount. From my perspective, we have not consulted with either of the clubs, and I think it's a little rash for us to pass this right now and or enforce it without having communications. Both clubs have dwindled in their participation and memberships, and for us to impose this on them without the consultation could potentially send this thing over the edge. I mean, right now, out of your fees that you pay for the men's club, I think $5 stays to the club, and the rest are paid towards outside agencies, either the RCGA or the Ontario Golf Association. I think as part of that too, as having an active men's club member, we get our course out there. We are part of the literature that all levels or governing bodies of golf have in their thing. So if you went to the database for the RCGA, it would be show Peninsula and would have our information. I think if we don't, if we lose that club, we lose that access. We also lose the access to information that they have on greenskeeping and on maintenance and stuff like that. So I think it's a little rash of us, at least. I'm not saying that it can't be in there, but I'm thinking the reason why we haven't enforced it is because of the benefit we saw of the club members on there. The ladies' club, on average, has about 12 to 15 members. They don't hold up the course for a significant amount of time, okay? The men's club's on Twilights. I agree that we, because I'm a member, hold it up. But you have to understand too, we also open it up to the public. So in this season, we had people from Hydro, we had people from the workers at Bird and whatnot, who are actively participating in
Could I
it also.
just a point of clarification? So you're suggesting that the enforcement continue for out of club tournaments, but for the men's open, the women's open that are in club,
Yeah.
you're suggesting that we do not do that
Enforce
until we
that.
consult with the two clubs? Is that
Two
the
clubs. I adamantly think that if we impose this,
Okay.
it will be the death knell for those clubs.
so administration response to that potential suggestion?
So certainly we'll take our direction from council. One of the things we do have the ability to do is, council does have the ability to still pass fees and charges, including that. And the CAO does have the ability to waive certain charges, depending on the tournament or the event. That does not have to go back to council. Or if council wishes, we can remove this particular item from the bylaw, still pass the bylaw tonight and bring this item back.
Could the other councillors, are you comfortable with leaving that sort of as a negotiating point with CAO and Councillor Debussy?
Just a follow-up to that, I understand administration's need for consistency. That I understand, because if it's a local company that wants to rent it as opposed to an outside company that wants to rent it. So I'm not saying that we have to void this portion of it. I think that we need to discuss with those clubs that they be exempt from that and from that particular portion of the
Councillor Valance?
My opinion would be just having a conversation with them. They're clearly going to support not paying the fee, obviously, right? Because historically it just hasn't been there. So would we just be wasting our time by going back to have the conversation and slowing the process down by having discussion?
And maybe one of the points of clarification we get is what sort of financial implication is that?
So for 2019, we do, the municipality does subsidize the golf course to the tune of $200,000. So another question is, if we're having these tournaments, where do we, a prime example is the Moffat one. So we charge the fee no matter whether the players are members or not?
Yes.
And that's the thing. Or is it strictly a men's club holding a tournament that will not have to pay anything? And that's where we get into, okay, if Canadian Tire wants to host an employee thing, but all of a sudden we get men's club, let's have men's club hold it instead of Canadian Tire, and Canadian Tire can just be a sponsor. It just throws complexity in administration trying to administer this through the year, and then puts a pressure on administration to have to come up with exceptions to the rules.
So, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Debussy, what I think I'm hearing is that the concern is the pressure directly on men and women's club, that the council has no issue with that rule being enforced to a tournament that's not hosted by those two organizations. We would like to see a discussion and hopefully not have that fee on those two clubs. Is that sound?
Yeah, I can support that clause in the fees and charges if we exempt the men's clubs and the ladies' clubs from those fees, and potentially the junior clubs if and when we get it back going. And then administration doesn't have to pick and choose. It's written in the fees and charges that they're exempt. So if another outside company comes in, or even a local company comes in and wants to host it, they are subject to those fees. Corporate outings are different than the men's club's outings. That's at least my concern.
Certainly, we're a small organization. Does administration, you know the groups well, do you feel like we should have the conversation with the men's and women's club before making a decision? Is that something that feels useful, or, I mean, I think you're hearing from council, we'd like to.
Yeah, well, I think, what I am hearing is we're, based on, some of council's concerns, there's a broader discussion. And I think, it's from administration's perspective, it doesn't just involve the men's and ladies clubs, right? Because I think, we would have a tough time justifying that distinction in terms of utilizing the course. I think what we need to do is, if council, wishes to look at this differently, is to separate this out and administration bring a report back to council, because administration's recommendation is that we implement this because it provides us with consistency, which we always look for across the board for any fee and charge. So if council is going to make that exemption for the men's and ladies club, I think it needs to be done in a broader perspective, and administration needs to bring back a fulsome report for council to debate further.
And there's plenty of time right now.
Does that sound, Councillor Debuchy, does that allay your fears?
Okay,
or-
so with the movers and seconders' permission, I suggest that we remove that clause right now, and then administration can bring back a report, because we have until May or whatever to decide on the implementation or a workaround.
Councillor Valance?
So my only, and I'm, as you know, my first year into this, my only concern would be, are we then opening a Pandora's box for then if we need to open a conversation with, say, the figure skating club or Marathon Minor Hockey, if they're not happy for something that we're doing in the rec, by opening the conversation with the golf organizations to then just kind of slows
Could we get
everything down?
maybe administration to respond to that?
I think it's a bit difficult to compare one facility to the other because they both operate differently and they're both subsidized in different ways. So council already subsidizes all the users of the arena facility regardless of, you know, your age and your level of play. So as an example, you know, figure skating, minor hockey, any youth group already sees a subsidy of $70 to $80 per hour of rental. So to take that same formula and apply it to the golf course would be extremely difficult. Okay. So what I would suggest is, you know, if council is in support of Councillor Debuchy's request, send it back to administration. We'll bring a fulsome report back to council in January, and that way we can have time to put together the necessary information for a broader debate.
Is that amenable to everybody?
And in January, the budget will be discussed, and that could be another opportunity for us to bring it.
Just to follow up then. So then we will pass the fees and charges without that, with the movers and seconders
That is correct.
agreement?
Do I need
Thank
to
you.
note that on the motion? Do we have a section number that I can just say omit? I just don't have it in front of me.
Just note exclusive of this title here.
Of course, rental. Okay. Yep. So the amended motion will read the counts that we omit or exclusive of course rental fees per person outside tournament section. Then we'll, do we re-vote on that or are we okay? Re-vote? All in favor? Carried. Our next report is the report on Marathon Emergency Response Plan, copy to all members. Serena Goodchild to present.
Okay. So the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, EMCPA, and its supporting regulation 38004 provides a number of requirements for both ministries and municipalities. Each year, the Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC, along with the Emergency Management Program Committee, EMPC, are required to review the plan, critical infrastructure, complete a hazard risk assessment review, and facilitate a tabletop exercise with the Emergency Control Group. This year's review and exercise took place on December 4th. The emergency plan must be approved yearly by council via bylaw, and the bylaw must encompass the emergency management program as well as the emergency plan. In November of 2019, representatives from the Office of the Fire Marshal and Emergency Management came to Marathon to assist in a review of the current plan. Changes and updates have been made resulting from this visit include reducing the number of members in the ECG to town employees only and removal of the word alternate, updates to the HIRA and critical infrastructure, and moving to an all-encompassing bylaw for emergency management. Any costs associated with the administration of the town's emergency plan has been provided in the annual operating budget. No direct costs have been incurred with these changes. Options are A, to approve the bylaw 1965, thereby repealing bylaw 1914 as presented, or B, request that administration make changes to bylaw 1965. So your administration recommends that option A be selected and that council approve the emergency plan as presented and that the appropriate bylaw be adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Goodchild. I have a motion to read that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on Marathon Emergency Management Plan, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted approving an all-encompassing Marathon Emergency Management Program and a Marathon Emergency Plan. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, seconded by Councillor Valance. Any questions of that report? Councillor Tabushi.
I appreciate that the size of the, I guess, committee or whatever it may be was reduced. But from my understanding, because I was no longer required to attend, the hierarchy goes about as the mayor, acting mayor, and then how, because there's no longer that pecking order that was established in the old system where it naturally passed. The mayor was naturally on the emergency measures, and then who after? So is it the next available councillor? Is it the deputy mayor? That's the one question I had. The other one is or should I wait for you to answer that
Okay,
question?
let's do one at a time. So it would go by the acting mayor schedule, which we attach to the back of it. In the event of an emergency where both the mayor and acting mayor are out of town, then it would be whoever's there first.
Thank you.
Your Worship, just to follow up, I think just, an important note that, we've been fortunate we haven't had to enact our plan. But in the event that we did, the mayor is certainly listed as the head of council, but all of council would be included in terms of the plan and what's unfolding in the community.
Thank you. Follow up?
Yes,
Councillor
another
Tabushi.
follow-up. With a couple of seminars we attended, and I won't blame, I guess you have to blame climate change. One of the things in the Fort McMurray fire was the prime example of because we're surrounded by wilderness, have we developed a plan or a buffer zone that was recommended? Because basically if there is a fire, we have no buffers and it would basically amount right to the town. So I was just wondering in the future or in the emergency planning, is that included or is that being discussed or is that a consideration moving forward?
Yeah, it's certainly being considered. It's being discussed. Both myself and Mrs. Goodchild have had that discussion with our fire chief, Mr. Redmond. Forest fires are obviously one of our major concerns for Marathon. We're not going to see a flood happening in Marathon. And, it's a challenging item to deal with because we are surrounded by the forest in such a, a vast amount. So, some of the other items that we're going to be considering as part of our plan moving forward that traditionally we have it in our plan is additional modes of transportation to get out of the community. So one of the big assets we obviously now have because we own it is the harbor, as another means to establish routes out of Marathon in the event that Highway 17 was closed. So those are items that we're going to be looking to add into the plan in 2020 going forward.
Excellent. Any other questions? And certainly, Ms. Goodchild, the one that always keeps me awake at night is we don't have pipelines, but we know how much crude oil goes through our tracks every day. Is that, again, to me, that's the one that keeps me up at night is that kind of train derailment, middle of town, people can't get across the tracks. Is that something we've looked at in terms of...
Yeah, we've actually done scenarios with respect to train derailments in Marathon. We also have a section of our fire department trained specifically with that, where they actually went to Colorado and worked with CP Rail in the event of a train derailment and an oil spill.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions to that report? Then with that, all in favor of accepting the report? Well carried. Thank you, Ms. Goodchild. Next up is a motion to approve a check. That motion reads that the following check runs be approved for payment. Accounts payable in the amount of $728,686.87 and payroll in the amount of $159,344.37. Moved by Councillor Gingras, seconded by Councillor Valance. Any questions of that check run? Hearing none, all in favor? We are carried. Our next section is the reports of appointed members to boards and committee. we have, I think, just my report on the DSAB. So we had our DSAB meeting on this past Thursday. The committee passed the budget officially. It will be a 1% increase for municipalities. We asked exactly how much that looks like for Marathon was the question I had. It is a bit on assessment, so it will look a little different for every community. Those numbers should be out by the end of January. But it was a budget much like Marathon's own, in which the capital went down 3 or 4%, but the levy remained the same. So we're going to be looking at about a 1% increase from that. That was it. Were there any other reports from committees? I didn't think so. We are going to move on to bylaws. We're going to read the motion for bylaw 1964 for the first time. So I have a bylaw, that bylaw number 1964 being a bylaw to authorize the establishment of fees and charges for the town of Marathon for the year ending December 31st, 2020 be read a first and second time this 16th day of December 2019. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, seconded by Councillor Gingras. The amendment that occurs on that bylaw, do I need to put it on here as well?
We'll bring the bylaw, another bylaw will come back with the amendment
Okay.
once that additional fee is passed.
Okay. So any questions of that bylaw? No. Do we do a vote on that one? All in favor? Thank you, Ms. Lees. Second bylaw is a motion that bylaw number 1965, a bylaw to adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan and to meet other requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, be read a first and second time the 16th day of December 2019. Moved by Councillor Valence, seconded by Councillor Gingras. Any questions of that motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And finally, a motion that bylaws number 1964 and 1965 be read a third and final time and be passed this 16th day of December 2019. Moved by Councillor Valence, seconded by Councillor Tabushi. Any questions of those bylaws? Hearing none, all in favor? They're carried. Under new business, we have a request from the Township of Greater Madawaska. It has been received, seeking support of the resolution pertaining to electronic delegations. Copy to all members. So we have a motion that council hereby supports the resolution received from the Township of Greater Madawaska pertaining to electronic delegations, and further, that a copy of this motion be forwarded to the individuals listed on the originating resolution. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, seconded by Councillor Gingras. Any questions of that? Councillor Valence.
Didn't we already somewhat have a conversation along the lines of delegation and allowing other communities to represent you at conferences and stuff like that? Like, isn't this kind of reflective of what was already discussed? Proxy votes?
CAO Skorczynski to respond.
Yeah, this is a little bit different. So what Councillor Valence is referring to is the discussion previously around proxy voting for Roma member communities, where other communities would be able to vote on your behalf. What this resolution is asking for is if you don't have the ability to attend a conference and schedule delegations with ministers and their staff, that you have the ability to do it electronically via Skype or, FaceTime as an example. So they're not related, and this is a different request from this community.
Councillor Tabushi.
So is this just at conferences, or is this, if I wanted to meet with Minister of Finance, I could just electronically do it?
It's a very broad resolution, to be honest. An administration's recommendation would be that council table it. I think there's great value in the ministerial delegations that take place face to face. By not going to Roma or AMO doesn't exclude any ability of any community to request a meeting with any minister or their staff. And you can do that by electronic means. We do it up here in the north on a regular basis because it is very expensive to travel to Toronto. So, I'm really not sure what they're actually requesting in the motion because it is so broad. I think it's, if we can't get to AMO, can we still have that ability? Well, you always have that ability to request that meeting of your MPP or a member of cabinet.
Any further questions? Councillor Tabushi.
I think I agree with the administration that we just table this. I think one of the values is the face-to-face meetings, and I would hate to see our ability to meet face-to-face with a minister at these conferences being impacted by somebody being able to just Skype in. So,
With the movers and seconders' permission, then, can we have an agreement to table this? Okay, so that will be tabled. Point of order for the clerk. Do I write tabled down, or do I mention, or do I mark it as defeated? Okay, thank you. Okay. That leads us to the last council meeting of 2020, and certainly the last council meeting 19. Oh my goodness, I'm skipping a year. But a chance for us to maybe reflect a little bit and offer holiday greetings to the town. I'm hoping that administration will join us. Maybe we'll start with the student councillors and then administration and then mayor and council. So do we want to maybe end with that? So maybe I will do a couple announcements first. Why don't we start by saying that we'll announce that members will be going into a closed session to discuss employee negotiations and labor relations after this meeting. Also to look at the town Christmas and recreation schedule and the waste management schedule. We'll ask maybe CEO Skorczynski to review that for us.
Well, I think what I would say is that all the schedules are now complete. They're all posted on the Town of Marathon's website. Certainly a lot of activities taking course at the complex, both on the ice and in the pool over the holidays. Our closure days are December the 24th, 25th, 26th, as well as December 31st and the 1st for the complex. But lots of drop-in hockey, public skating, those activities taking place while the kids are off school. With respect to Town Hall is open on December the 23rd and the morning of December the 24th. We're closed December 24th p.m. as well as December 25th and 26th, as well as Friday, December the 27th. And we'll reopen for regular business, regular hours on Monday, December the 30th. And I think the other two items, in terms of the waste transfer station will be open December the 24th from 2 to 4 p.m. It'll be closed December the 25th and 26th. Regular hours then convene after that. It'll be closed from 2 to, or it'll be open 2 to 4 p.m. on New Year's Eve, closed on January the 1st, and then reopened January the 2nd. Bag tags are available at Max, Canadian Tire, and the Recreation Complex during these closures if you're not able to get to Town Hall. And then the other item is the Christmas tree roundup. Place your Christmas tree, no artificial trees, only natural ones, out at the curbside before 7 a.m. on Tuesday, January 7th, and it'll be picked up by town staff. But of course, all this is posted on the town's website, as well as our Facebook page.
And excellent to hear that there's going to be lots going on at the arena and the pool for families that are off. That's good to hear. With that, now it's our chance to say Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas to folks. So maybe I'd ask Student Councillor Hatton if you want to start us off.
So on behalf of Marathon High School Student Council and myself, I would just like to wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday break and a very happy new year and all the best in 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Hatton. CEO Skorczynski, do you want to offer on behalf of the administration?
I actually would like to read a message from Mayor Dumas. Okay, so on behalf of council, administration, and all staff, I, Mayor Rick Dumas, would like to wish all residents and their families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please do not drink and drive and call a cab if you're going to be celebrating with alcohol. And may 2020 be prosperous for all of us. Thank you very much. And he makes a special note, thank you to the students from the choir who performed for us tonight.
He was assuming they were going to be good. I guess that's a pretty good assumption. That's lovely. Maybe we'll go left to right. Councillor Gingras?
Sure. So, as in years past, I'll give my greetings in French. I don't get to use it very often during council. So, alors, à tous nos résidents de Marathon, je vous souhaite une joyeux Noël et bonne année. Si vous voyagez pendant les vacances, faites attention aux routes. On sait que les routes en Ontario peuvent être très dangereuses dans l'hiver. Mais prenez le temps d'être avec votre famille et oui, bonne année.
C'est bon. That was it. That was most of my French. Councillor Valence.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for the last year, the opportunity to be able to have a seat at the table and participate. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and just to not forget to take a look at the Marathon and District Chamber of Commerce Shop Local program they have going on right now. If you bring in any of your receipts from local businesses to Spadoni Motors, you could be entered into win a daily draw, and I believe it's running for a few more days. So definitely take a look at the Facebook page, Marathon District Chamber of Commerce. Happy holidays, and please don't drink and drive.
Thank you, Councillor Valence. Councillor Debussy.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank administration and council for the work we were able to accomplish this year. I'd like to remind people to be kind to one another. Remember your family and friends, and those who may need an extra hug this time of year. On behalf of my family, I'd like to wish everybody here and in the community a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Councillor Debussy. You almost remembered to have your mic on.
The mic on.
Maybe that could be your resolution for 2020, is you're going to press your mic button whenever it's time for you to speak. I guess since I'm in Mayor Dumas' speech, I get to go last. It's been a year of lots of transition. Certainly, there's been lots of uncertainty out at the mine. I feel like we've lost a lot of elders in this community this year. But what I am reminded of every year at Christmas is that story at the heart of Christmas is one of hope. It's one of new beginnings. It's the story of a baby that grows up to be a king. And I think it reminds me that we're really lucky to live in a community that continues to hope, and I think does really good work through Mayor and Council and through the town staff. I think we have a wonderful community. Given our size, we punch way above our belt when it comes to getting good things done. I think we deserve to feel good this time of year and to remember those that maybe are struggling. I also asked my daughter what I should say for the Christmas address, and she told me that there is a cat at the animal shelter that is being bullied by the other cats, and that if you are feeling lonely this Christmas, you should talk to the Marathon Humane Society and see if Shiloh might be for you. So with my daughters pleading for Shiloh, I would say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and certainly we wish everybody in the municipality and in our neighbors a really great 2020. And with that, I have a final motion that we do now adjourn at the hour of 7:55, moved by Councillor Gingras, seconded by Councillor Valence, and a reminder that we will be going into a closed meeting following this. All in favor? Merry Christmas, everybody.